Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Entrepreneurial Series. Today's conversation is one that will inspire anyone who has ever questioned their career path. I've been an HR person before and I understand this. Their purpose or their direction in life. I'm speaking today with a woman whose journey is powerful, unexpected, and deeply relatable. We often celebrate nurses for saving lives at the bedside. But what happens when a nurse realizes that people are dying financially long before they even make it to the hospital? That realization changed her life. It created a shift everyone never expected. So today's topic is the shift I never expected. How nursing led me into protecting lives financially. So, my special guest is Lheiza Dimalanta. So, Lheiza, before we dive into your journey, for the people watching who may not know you personally, how would you like to introduce yourself?
First of all, I would like to say thank you again for giving me this chance and opportunity to share my journey at Ajiri. It really means a lot. And I truly hope that something from this conversation can inspire someone, especially anyone who might be feeling overwhelmed or looking for new options in life. And you've asked me a while ago to introduce myself again. I'm Liza Dimalanta. I'm a family loving woman at heart, and the way I care for the people I love naturally spills over into how I show up for them. So I've spent decades in nursing and in financial industry, and those two are in a different paths. Those career are in different paths, but they taught me the same core of a lesson in life. What are those lessons? People need support, people needs encouragement, and someone who genuinely needed care.
Wow, that's inspiring. It's so hard for me to wrap my head around how someone crosses over from nursing to finance. Sometimes it's mind boggling because most people go into nursing because they say they don't like calculations. But we realize that in life, everything it's about maths, right? It's about calculating, getting the numbers, the number of drugs to allocate at every point in time. Numbers don't lie, numbers are consistent. So let's go back a little before finance, before entrepreneurship, because now you're an entrepreneur.
Mm.
You were a nurse. You were a nurse previously, but what originally inspired you to nursing?
Actually, Ajiri, when I was young, I actually dreamt of becoming a doctor.
Oh, wow.
But as I grew older, things changed. And my mom, who was actually a nurse, she really inspired me to follow the nursing path instead. Like
Mhm.
many people, back home, our parents often have a big influence of what course we take into our college life. And my mom definitely played a part in that. But it's not actually her words itself only. I remember when she was bringing me in her working place when I was a child and going with her to work. I could remember how passionate she was when she was taking care of those people that she's dealing with. And watching her made me want to do the same when I grew up, during those times. So that's what really inspired me to choose nursing back then.
Wow. So your mom inspired you. You know, parents have a way of influencing the direction of our life, and that's really an exemplary thing, you know. But when you look back at your nursing years, what did you enjoy the most about being in that profession?
What I really enjoyed most about nursing was seeing my patients recover and knowing that I was part of that healing process. There's even something really special whenever you hear them, even their family members say that your care made a really difference while they were going through those tough times that they were healing. So those moments actually gave me so much inspiration, and it reminded me why I do what I do as a nurse and why I love doing nursing before. It pushed me to always give the best care that I could, no matter how busy or challenging the day it would be during those times.
Yeah, that's quite interesting, because if you look at nursing career and what you're doing right now, it's all about transformation, right? A person comes in sick and you see them recover. You know, a person comes in with um, bad finances and you help them to at least navigate their financial journey. But I know it's a big transition, right? Moving from into being a financial advisor. I'm doing it full time now. You said almost a decade or over a decade. So
Mhm.
at what point did you start feeling like something was missing, even though you are in a respected and stable profession? Because I know lots of people who come into Canada, they want to get into nursing, because they feel, oh, that's a very stable profession. But at what point did you start feeling like, I need a change?
Mm-hmm. I love that question. I started feeling like something was missing during those 5 years that I worked as a nurse before, especially when my kids were growing. They were so young. I was doing 8 to 12 hour shift plus driving an hour each way. In Saskatchewan, it's the way it is. You
Oh,
have to travel a lot. Plus, driving an hour each way, going to work, going back home, it slowly hit me that I was spending more time at work with my own, rather than my own children.
mm,
But by the time I got home, they were already asleep. And when I need to go to work again the next day, they were still sleeping. So I remember sharing before that for almost 6 years from the time we arrived in Canada. I
mm,
barely had those time with them, missing those school activities or enjoying those small moments every day. It wasn't because I didn't love nursing why I switched the career. It was simply the schedule and the demands of the job. That's when I started looking for something else that I can reduce my working hours in nursing so I could
mm.
actually be present with my kids.
So indirectly, it was time freedom,
It is.
focusing more on your kids,
It is.
and trying to be there at this early stage of their growing up, right? So,
Mhm.
but was there a specific moment or day that made you say something needs to change in my life? Because I know your kids are growing and all, but was there a big bang? Let me put it that way, that just hit you one day and you just made that decision, right?
There were. Because other than seeing my kids, other not seeing my kids growing, I remember there was a specific moment that really hit me, as you were mentioning a while ago. Something needs to be changed. I told myself that was back then, 2016, when I used to work as a licensed insurance broker on the side while working full time as a nurse and as a director in one of the private care home in Saskatchewan. Working as a director, the workload was really heavy, managing staff, managing the patients, the families, and I was constantly stretched thin. And
Mm,
then one day, I remember things got so busy that I completely lost of track of the time that
mm.
my oldest child has to be picked up. He
Wow.
was 7 back then. And then when he finished school, he went looking for me because I was supposed to be there picking him up. I
Wow.
remember that time when my staff was calling me while I'm having a meeting with my resident's family member, and someone is crying in outside the building. So I was like, I remember that running out of the building, and I've seen my son crying and looking for his mom. I still remember when I was hugging him. Now you're making me think of that time again, hugging him and hearing that moment when you say, "Mom, how could you forget to pick me up?"
Mm, mm.
That hit me big time. And
Wow.
that moment, it broke really my heart.
Wow.
And that was a wake up call for me. And
Wow.
on top of that, there were really nights that when my nursing staff, those registered nurses that I have before that I've been working with,
Mm.
they call in sick. And
Oh.
even I'm tired working in an admin hours during the day, I have to go back to work and work as a nurse because I still have that license. And that exhausts me so much. So
Mm.
I knew something needed to change.
Wow.
So that's the time when I decided to resign. And I told my husband, I want to give my financial license a real chance, just for a few months and see if it works. And if it didn't, I'll go back to nursing. But looking back now, I'm so grateful that I took that leap that I never get to return back to nursing.
Wow. That's a huge leap of faith. But nurses, from what we learn, they earn more. They earn a
Mhm.
lot, right? And their finance is stable. But if you want to take a look back at your financial life at that time, was there anything that made you also start questioning when it came to your financial life? balancing things. Yes, your son, you
Mm.
left him out. That's like the other part, right? But in your financial life, was there like a connection between that and what made you start questioning things?
Mhm. Okay. So even though nursing provides a good income, I started to notice something that didn't sit right with me. Because the more hours I work, the more tax I paid. And you know that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially when I did those overtime, sometimes there was a time that I worked two jobs, working in a hospital and working in a private care home. So I reached to a point where I asked myself, why does it still feel like it's not enough? I was working so hard, sacrificing so much time with my family, yet financially I still felt limited. I also wanted to give more to my family back home, not just here. We have that culture of giving back also when
Mm-hmm.
someone is needing our help back home. But sometimes it really hits me that I cannot give because what I earn from nursing job would just be enough, and there's a bit that is extra for us. So that feeling of wanting to help more but being held back financially made me question if there was a better way, one where I could provide more without having to sacrifice everything else in my life. So
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah, because life is all about sacrifices, right?
Yes.
And yeah, there's somebody out there that might be listening who is considering going into a career in nursing. Somebody also might be in a career in nursing right now, and they're asking the same questions you asked yourself, right? This stability and instability. So, nursing is viewed as one of the most stable careers if we look at it. But for you, the stability didn't feel stable. Can you really explain that?
Yeah. People often say nursing is a very stable career. And
Mhm.
in many ways, it is. Okay, don't get me wrong. But for me, that stability didn't feel stable at all during that time. Stability for me means being present with my family, especially my kids,
Mhm.
having that time freedom to spend time with them, and actually witnessing them growing.
Mm.
But working as an employee, especially in nursing before, it made it made things almost impossible.
Mm.
Those long hours of shifts, those overtime, those demands, it always kept me away from the people that I really care about most. And financially, I didn't feel stable either because even though I worked hard and did lots of overtime before, it still felt like there was a limit of how much I could earn, especially being on salary. Because working in an admin, I get paid salaried, right?
Mm.
So no matter how much effort I put it in my job, my
It's-
income didn't grow in a meaningful way. So it felt like I was giving so much of myself, but still not getting the stability I needed either for my family or for our finance.
Yeah, that's interesting. This was a personal decision you made and a
Mhm.
family decision. But there are some people out there who might be considering making such decisions. But were there any warning signs that you kept ignoring before you finally made that shift?
Yes, actually, there were definitely warning signs that I kept ignoring before I finally made that shift. Okay. One of the biggest ones that I could say was seeing my kids growing up being more attached to their dad. It hurts because he was the one who was always there with them, providing them his time in school activities and all. And it made me realize how much I was missing, and
Mm.
how much time I needed to give back to them. And I remember there's also a warning sign in terms of my health because I
Mhm.
was overworked and so stressed from the demands of my job, especially when I was working as a director. I
Mm.
remember reaching out to the point that even though I was earning well, I
Mm.
didn't feel well. That's the
Mm.
thing. I didn't feel well because I felt so overwhelmed, so drained. And honestly, I wasn't in a good place that I could say I was in mentally, physically, or emotionally. It took me a while to really admit it. But
Mm.
those were the days that it gave me a clear sign that something really need to change.
Oh, that's interesting. Having worked as an HR professional for many years, I realized that most times when people are trying to make a big career shift, there's this sense of guilt that they feel. Even though the warning signs are there, but there's this worry. It's either, they are worried about what people will feel, what people will say, or they are worried about something else, right? So a
Mhm.
lot of nurses feel guilty, even thinking about leaving the profession. But did you struggle with guilt? Did you struggle with fear or feeling like you are abandoning something meaningful? What was your feeling like?
Actually, yes. I definitely, like looking back, I definitely struggled with guilt and fear when I decided to leave nursing before. When I submitted that resignation to my boss, a lot of people questioned my decision. Why
Mm,
did I give it up?
mm,
Why did I give up something stable,
mhm,
especially a position that many others dream of having it, to be in an admin position. And to be honest, their question made me have that doubt during that time. And I was really scared too, because walking away from a regular monthly income and trading it for something uncertain, it really felt risky during that time. And
mm,
I didn't know if the financial industry would actually help me out to give the same income as I have in nursing before. Part
mm,
of me part of me actually felt like I was abandoning something meaningful and something that I have worked so hard for.
mm,
But again, as I've mentioned, I was so blessed that my husband supported me 100%. And he
mm,
had a good career also back then that allowed our family to set afloat while I was just starting to build my business in the financial industry. And knowing that he believed in me made that transition a little scary during that time. And looking back, that leap of faith was one of the best decisions that I actually ever made in my life.
Just looking back now, right?
Looking back, yeah.
Right now, because I just wonder what the reaction was, especially for your mom, right?
Mhm.
Who was someone who I could say was your role model, right? When you made
Mhm.
that um, big leap to go into nursing. But
Mhm.
what was the reaction? I'm very interested because you launched into the insurance and financial industry. Like, what was the reaction? I want to just, when you said you were going into this industry and you're leaving stability for something that you're not too sure of.
Mhm. So when I first told my family that I was exploring the financial industry, the reactions were mixed. My mom was really surprised, and honestly, she really looked so disappointed that time. So I know that she worked so hard to help me finish nursing. Don't get me wrong. No,
Mm,
so she couldn't understand why did I give up nursing and walk away from that career and shifting it to financial industry, right?
mhm,
So I knew where she was coming from, so I didn't take it against her. On the other hand, what's important for me that time is my husband really supported me 100%. He saw firsthand that how unstable I got into the position on the last position that I had in nursing. He
mm.
knew I needed change. So not just for my career, but for my health, because I told you I was in an experience of having that kind of depression during that time,
Mm,
mentally, emotionally. So having his full support actually made the decision a lot easier for me during that time.
yeah. I've made a lot of big transitions in my career, right? Even coming to Canada was a big transition for me.
Yes.
I understand what you're talking about, but there's this fear of judgment or a sense of identity shift when you leave a place. And most importantly, or most scary, uncertainty about income. How did
Mhm.
you handle all of this when you experienced this transition?
Honestly, all of those were really hard. The fear of
Mhm,
judgment, the identity shift, and especially the uncertainty about that income that you were mentioning.
mhm.
As I mentioned before, that giving up a stable monthly income was really scary on my part. But it is really scary. Like I'm just remembering it those times that I filed my resignation. But even with all those fear, I've never regretted making that shift because becoming a business owner and working as an insurance broker, it gave me something that I never had before. As I
Mm,
was saying, the time freedom with my family, the
mhm,
opportunity to earn without being limited of how many hours I work, and I'm no longer stuck exchanging every minute of my day for a fixed paycheck. Now my effort are actually reflected in my income, and I
mm.
still get to spend more time with my family, seeing my kids growing. And that is something that I can never put a price on. And you know that.
Yeah. Most times what limits people are beliefs, their beliefs, right? Because we're all a product of our belief system. So, did you struggle with any kind of limiting beliefs when you were stepping into your next chapter?
I did. Because looking back, the biggest limiting belief I had to let go of was the idea that I couldn't be successful in anything outside of nursing.
Mm,
Because for so long, like for 15 years, I believed that nursing was the only career where I could thrive because it was all I ever knew before. So stepping into a financial industry, which was completely different, it really felt intimidating during those times. But once I let go of that belief, I started to see that there are actually more options in life than
mm,
what we think we have
mm,
at the moment.
mm,
So I
mm.
realized that I wasn't stuck, that I could learn more, grow more, and succeed in a new field. So letting go of that fear opened doors for me and helped me to really realize something bigger that will be awaiting for me to allow myself to reach the dreams that I really wanted for me and myself and my family, should I say.
That's quite interesting and noble. But when you look at you being in the financial world today, right? What is that one thing you have learned that completely shocked you about money or insurance?
Actually, Ajiri, what really opened my eyes to the world of financial protection was realizing how powerful it can be in someone's life, especially during their most difficult moments. Because working as an insurance broker, I came to see that this profession is actually very noble because we offer real solution in life's problem, right? So one moment that truly changed my perspective was when a client of mine was actually diagnosed with cancer, and she had an illness protection plan that I helped her to put in place when she was still stronger that time. And because of that plan that I gave her, she received a significant amount of money. And that payout, it actually covers her bills and supported her family and allowed her to focus healing without any added stress of financial worries. Seeing how our plan works for our client during those painful times really made me realize how essential financial protection really is.
Yeah, that's quite touching because most times people don't know the need of some of this plan until they experience a situation. And you being a nurse, you've seen a lot of changes happen, in the lives of people. But if you could talk to one healthcare worker out there, which who may misunderstand money, right? The risk and involved in planning and also anything that has to do with wealth creation.
Mhm.
What is that advice you can give that person today?
Mhm. One of the biggest thing that shocked me about money was realizing that there are actually so many ways to grow it, than just putting it in the bank, right? Ways how to protect it and ways how it can work for you or for us
Mhm.
instead of you always just working to get money. So before I thought the only way to earn more was to work more hours, but financial education really changed that. And
Mm,
it showed me that there are smarter ways and strategies that you can help yourself to multiply the money that you have and
mm,
stay it protected. Okay. And when it comes to insurance, there are also things that I used to think it was only for when someone dies.
mm,
So, and most people think about that they don't need insurance because it's only for dying, right?
mhm.
Just something to leave behind for their family. But honestly, financial industry opened my eyes on that one. I learned that insurance is not only for dying, but it actually helps you to grow your money, protect your savings from taxes, and even help you build legacy for the next generation.
Wow, insurance wears many hats, you know. But I know you see a lot of mistakes that nurses and healthcare workers make out there, even people from your target audience, your community. But what's that number one mistake you see nurses and healthcare workers make repeatedly?
Mistake that I could say that they have repeatedly is, I think many healthcare workers misunderstood how vulnerable they actually are when
Mm,
it comes to money, risk, and long-term planning. So we're used to taking care of others, and we often forget to take care of ourselves, right?
mm,
So a lot of us believe that having a stable job and a good income is enough. But I learned that hard way. It's not, right?
mhm,
Many healthcare worker thinks that I'll just work more hours if I need money, have overtime,
mm,
without realizing that the more we work, the more taxes we pay, and the more we sacrifice our health and our family time. And we also tend to assume we'll always be strong enough to work for as long as we want to, right?
mm,
But as nurse, I've seen how fast sickness and accidents can happen because
mhm.
one illness can suddenly stop your income, and most people aren't financially prepared for that.
That's quite interesting. But can you tell us one proud moment you've had since you made this shift?
One problem that I have before.
One proud moment that you've had since you made the shift. Yeah, sorry.
One proud moments that when I made this shift.
Yeah.
Okay, so then what I could say the proud moment that I had is like, I had more options in love. More options in life right now, and
Mm,
as I mentioned, I tend to see my kids growing and spend more quality time with my family.
mm.
And I have no limit of my income in terms of how much I wanted to earn. If I work more, I can earn more as a business owner.
That's quite interesting. There's someone watching out there right now. Could be a
Mhm.
nurse, an immigrant woman, a mom who feels stuck, but they are afraid. What would you
Mhm.
tell her this very moment?
Okay. So if I could just tell the person at this moment, okay, don't
Mhm,
be scared to venture something out there. If you're not happy with what you're doing at the moment, there are lots that you can do. There are lots that you can try off and you can see if it's your passion so that at least you can have the freedom that you would like to and the kind of life that your family deserves to have.
mm. That's very touching. If someone wants to reach out to you right now for financial guidance or they are curious about exploring a new career path, how can they get in touch with you?
Okay. So, Ajiri, I do have my Facebook, my Instagram, using my name. I also have LinkedIn, and they can also connect with me using WhatsApp. And I can even put my number, and you know that you can put the number on the comment section if they wanted to reach out to me. Please feel free. I'm here to help you and serve you.
So please, if you want to reach out to Liza, she's on Facebook. She's very active on Facebook, very active on Instagram, also very active on LinkedIn. So Liza, thank you for sharing your journey. Your story is a proof that sometimes the shift we never expect becomes the calling we were
Mhm.
created for, I mean. Thank you for joining us in this episode. I'm going to be having an exclusive session on December 13th with Florence. Very outstanding. Please don't miss this. It's an exclusive session. But I just want to thank Liza for joining us today, for this short interview, just to get to know how she's helping protect families out there. This is a nurse who made up her mind to save and protect families' income by stepping into the life and health insurance industry, where she has protected so many family incomes over a decade now, and she's doing it with joy. So if you're stuck right now, just like Liza said, don't be afraid to make that decision. You have only one life to live. Why not live it well and be happy living your life? So make that decision today. Take that bold step and reach out to Liza if you need some connect, if you need her to give you some advice, some things that helped her emotionally to cross over this career path. I'll see you in the next episode. Stay tuned. Thank you.